here we go. Okay, you guys, hi, I'm Sarah and I'm an addict. Yay, I can see all of you. Oh, God, okay, I'm grateful to be here. I really am. I'm grateful to be clean. My clean date is October 18th, 2011, so I'm 3 years and a few days behind Robert, and I don't know where he went, but I appreciate his share. And, one of the things that, I love the most is listening to people. This is a little nerve-wracking, this part is a little nerve-wracking, but I love going to meetings and listening to people and finding all the different similarities. There was a lot of similarities that I could relate to that he talked about, so I thank him for that. Welcome to anybody who's new to Narcotics Anonymous. Welcome to anybody who's not new. And welcome to anybody who's come back. I'm really glad you made it back. The disease of addiction is scary and has always ended life for people, and it's happening. It's still happening. So I'm really glad that you're back. And all that I don't really know anything, but what I know is you don't need to use no matter what. Nothing that I've been through in recovery has, I haven't gone back out. And I've thought about it. I've thought about getting loaded lots of times. But I've just been, I just never have. And so I guess and I want to welcome anybody who may be loaded in here. Maybe I'll talk about it, but, that was me at one point. I had been introduced to recovery and didn't stay clean, and I had a service position. I don't know. I'm going to try to stay, I'll move around a lot, so I'm going to maybe try to stay a little more focused. So, but if you're high in here, I'm glad you're here, and please come back. If anybody told me to leave when I was getting loaded in the meeting, I would probably be dead. I needed people to love on me and to accept me and to be there with me until I surrendered, really, and accepted the help. My story is probably really similar to a lot of people's. I started using when I was young. It was like a peer pressure thing, or it was kind of like other people were doing it, so I started doing it, and I liked how it made me feel. And I was super rebellious. I was like a really rebellious kid. I was a hurt kid is what I was. And through the process of step work, I've been able to kind of identify why I was hurt, my part in the hurt, things that weren't my part in the hurt, and kind of get down to why I continue to put myself in situations that were unsafe. And basically the disease progressed. It's a progressive disease, and it progressed in my life. I got clean when I was 34, and I had 3 kids. My twins were 8, and my oldest was 14 when I got clean. And I had tried, so I'm going to tell this part of, I'm going to tell a little bit of my story. I'm going to try to be a little more, I don't know if it's vulnerable or go into a little more detail. Somebody brought to my attention that I share really generally, and I do share generally. I have a support group of women and a sponsor that I get real butt naked with. But I'll try. I'm going to work on trying to be a little more in detail. So maybe, I don't know, somebody can relate or, whatever. But at the end of my using, I couldn't stop. I could not stop. I loved my kids. and it didn't matter. Like it did, the kids didn't matter. So I tried to stop. It was like, next weekend, right? So the way that it worked was that my kids went away for the weekend, so to go be with their dad and their grandparents who lived on the coast, the Oregon coast. And so every weekend, my kids' grandpa would pick the kids up at after school on Fridays, and like that was it. I was going to quit using that day. I was going to get clean over the weekend, and then they were going to come back on Sunday, and I was going to be good. And at one point I was introduced to like a doctor who was willing to prescribe me Suboxone. And so for a couple of years, I had the Suboxone, and I would try every weekend. And, the disease just progressed, and, I would sell the Suboxone. I would try come Sunday. It was like there was no way. All these kids were coming back, and there was no way I was going to be able to function with them. I still didn't feel good, and I was obsessed with the lifestyle. I was obsessed with the dude that was using. Like I couldn't stay clean. And so, I did all the things that, that we, both men and women, say like we'll never do. As the disease progressed, so did like what I had to do to get to stay loaded. At the end, the kids, I was using in front of the kids. They were finding things, drug paraphernalia all over the house. Like I lost my mind, I was mixing drugs. And so like I was really out there. I would run upstairs to go grab markers and do a hit and shove the rig under the toy box. And then they'd go up to get a toy the next day, and they'd come down with the rig. It was very, unsafe, and I couldn't stop. And I've always been somewhat of an athlete, and I've always been kind of a big girl. And I always would kind of fluctuate with weight. So when I would lose weight, throughout my life. So, there'd be periods of time where I'd lose all this weight, and my mom, my family, God, Sarah, you look great, and because I've done it before. And I would just, tell them the same thing. Yeah, I'm back on it. I'm running again. I'm kickboxing. I quit eating dairy. I stopped eating meat, and they believed it, right? Because I don't know why. Somehow that's my story. I mean, I was dying inside, but I was, able to kind of get away with it. But again, like it's progressive, and it progressed. So, I was actually just reflecting about like the last job I had, where I was going I was running a restaurant, and I was going into the bathroom, and I wasn't even sick, but I just was so obsessed with using. I needed another hit. And so I just kept on, and finally I lost my job, and my oldest daughter did a lot of raising of the younger ones, which was really, it's really unfortunate. It was a lot of trauma, and it caused a lot of stress, and she wasn't like prepared to do that, or like skilled to take care of two little kids that, their mom loved them, but had no rules, no boundaries, no schedule, no nothing. I tried really hard, some people have heard parts of my story. I would cook, broccoli and tofu and whatever for the kids. And, I wouldn't eat anything, but I would do my best to like cook for the kids. Sneaking off every 5 minutes, and there were definitely times where I couldn't cook for the kids, and other people fed my kids when I was getting loaded. I would take them to soccer practice and hide out in the outhouse, it just was unmanageable. And And I knew that it was wrong. I did. I knew it was wrong, and I knew that I was causing pain and I was hurting so bad, but I was so terrified to ask for help. Like, I was so terrified to say, like, I need help. Like, I'm strung out on heroin. And now, speedballs. Like, I was terrified to tell anybody. Because really I was scared they were going to take my kids. Like, the people were going to come and they were going to take my kids away. And you know, that's it. Let's just say that's at 34 years old. And so, like, for years before that, I was the hippie chick that would take care of the kids while their parents were strung out and trying to kick dope. So, like, I knew about, you know, I knew about drugs, but I was never going to be that one. You know, I mean, my kids' dad is an addict, and I was never going to be like him. I was never going to do what he did to the kids. I was never going to do that, you know, and I became all those things. I did all those things. So my first NA meeting was in California. I went down to my brother's house. I took my Suboxone, and I transitioned from the heroin to the Suboxone on my brother's couch in Venice Beach, and he took me to my first NA meeting. What I'll say about that is that, like, I sat down. I was really proud of myself. I was pretty motivated. I was really motivated by fear. And I had no idea, none whatsoever, how I was going to do this, what this program was. I didn't know anything, but I just knew that, like, I wanted to stop using. And, like, this was maybe my chance, like, to get away from Portland. For me, that was my introduction to NA. I'm going to tell this quick little story. I got out. My brother. So I come from I have a few brothers. I have a sister. I have a brother who's passed from the disease. The brother that I went to California to go see, he is not an addict. He is not an addict. We'll just say that. Okay. So he was. And, like, you know, that's like inventory stuff, step work stuff. I've written about my brother. I've written about my relationships with my family. And so I don't really need to, like, talk so much about my brother. But, you know, he's not an addict, but he was really terrified and has some issues with anger and control. And so he picked me up from the NA meeting that he had dropped me off at. I was really excited. I said, oh, my God, I think I might be in the right place. He's actually the one who looked it up online while I was, like, laying on his couch. I pulled out my phone list. I said, look at this. Oh, my God, I got this phone list of all these women. And he flipped out on me. And he got me in a headlock. And he was just, I just remember getting out of his grip and getting out of the car. And I was, you know, frail, okay, and sick, but still tough enough to, like, fuck you. And I'm going to go take, you know, I mean, I had been, like, fucking around on the streets for a long time. So, like, I knew what to do to go get high. I knew that I was scared, but I knew I was gonna figure something out. And this dude who just put his hands on me, like, I'm done with him, right? So the truth is that, like, I had nowhere to go. I was in Culver City. I had this phone list, so I called. I had my cell phone in a phone list, and I had 3 days of being on the Suboxone. And so I'm not feeling awesome. And I called the lady on the phone list, and she came and picked me up. And I stayed with her. And she said, Sarah, you threw a rock, and it's rippled. It's rippled to California. Like, it's not okay what your brother did, but, like, we're not going to worry about him right now. We're going to put him over here, and we're just going to focus in on you. Okay, so I say that because that phone list saved my life that night. So, like, our phone lists are so important. And they're so, like, sometimes, right, I remember hearing in the beginning, like, they could feel like 600 pounds to pick up the phone and call somebody or whatever. And it is. It's terrifying. It's embarrassing. It's whatever those feelings are that we get. But, like, I happened to, in my story, like, that saved my life. And the other thing I will say about phone lists is that, like, I'm at a place in my life today, and have been. I was taught in this program that if you're unable to answer calls for people, don't put your name on the phone list. when I was new and I had 30 days, 60 days, I'm putting my name on the phone list. And that was good. Like I needed to pick up the phone if somebody called or this or that. But it got to a place where like I was putting my name on the phone list, but I could never pick up the phone because I had a job and I was reading my kids a book because I needed to, right? And so I learned that like it's okay to not put your name on the phone list if you're not available at that point in your life. And so I'm assuming, I've been taught that, and I would think it's safe to assume that if a name is on a phone list, people, a lot of us know, like, to put your name, we're going to answer. So, I hope that, if anybody's new, or even if you're not new, and you need to call people that, you utilize the phone list. So yeah, they took me to a Unity Day down there. It was the next day in California. She said, you're going to sell these brownies, but you can't touch the money. I was pissed. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't care so much about the money thing. I didn't want to do any of it, right? I didn't feel good. I was like grateful that I just was in shock. I couldn't believe what was happening, right? Like, don't you know who I am? Like to my brother, right? In my head, I'm like, a lot of my life is stories in my head. Okay. So like, that's over the years, what I've tried to work on is the stories that I tell myself in my head. Most the time, they're wrong. It's misinformation, it's made up information, it's assumptions, it's judgments, it's expectations. Like it's not accurate, And so I just couldn't believe, I was in disbelief that I had gone down there to get clean and you put your hands on me and now look at where I'm at, But I knew that I was safe, and she said all the right things. Like, this is a 1 second at a time program, and we're just going to worry about right this second. Take these brownies and go offer them to these people over here, or whatever, So that was the first time I heard a speaker meeting, and the two people that spoke, I'm still friends with them today. It's pretty cool. Their stories, I was like, oh my God, one of them had a bunch of tattoos. She was on Skid Row. So I'm going to speed this up, right? So here's the thing about speaking like this is that there's so much, right? There's so much to cover. I don't know how people do it, right? Like I don't, so then I end up just probably sharing in a really general way going throughout, because it's like, how do you go through everything that, my life began here in Narcotics Anonymous. So I came back to Portland a month later, and I went to the Miracles Club. I went to the noon meeting. It was my first meeting here in town. Mick was chairing the meeting. I really liked listening to him. I thought he was a pretty cool dude. A lady came up to me. I still can't track her down, but I can't remember her name or who she was or what, but she gave me a phone list, and she highlighted all the meetings that she goes to in the Portland area. And I really appreciated that. It's one of the things that I do. Like if a woman is looking for meetings, that's a real good thing to do. Highlight the meetings you go to. So that's how I found a sponsor. One of those meetings was Herald Street Blues. I think it's back open, but it was a Sunday meeting. And met my sponsor there. I went to 3 meetings a day, 3 or 4 meetings a day for a really long time. I loved when Robert said, kids are welcome here, because some of you, there's quite a few people that are in here that knew me when I came in, but Pearl and Ginger, my twins, they came with me. They had school hours, but after school, I'd pick them up at 3:00. They went to school right down the street from the Alano Club in Northwest Portland. And so I'd pick them up and we'd go to Recovery in the House. Then we'd go to a 5:30 meeting. Then we'd go to an 8:00 meeting. And then I had these kids up until midnight, and they would run wild, and it didn't matter because I wanted to get high really bad in the beginning. I really, really was so tempted. It was so hard. Like the person that I thought I loved so much, who I do care about, was getting loaded, and I wanted to get loaded with him. I wanted to go back to normal, right? That was normal to me. Like being clean is abnormal. It was very abnormal to me when I first got clean. Even though I wanted it, it was really uncomfortable. Still is. So, so I took my kids everywhere. It's funny, Ginger, 10 minutes? Okay. Ginger was going to come tonight. So one of the twins is, they're going to be 20 tomorrow. And Ginger loves meetings, and she loves Narcotics Anonymous, and she helps at the convention, and she loves our family, because you guys are our family. And my other kids, it's not that they don't, but they just have found other things, whatever. Ginger loves. So she was going to come tonight, and she didn't. But she was like, Mom, are they going to record you? Please, is it going to be hybrid? I want to watch it on Zoom. Roger said it was recorded. So this is for you, Ginger. What I know is that, like, life just, eventually it was like, okay, Sarah, like, you get to, like, kind of stop going to so many meetings and being of so much service, because that's all I did for so long. I had to do that. But you need to, like, give the kids a bath and dinner and read them books and do their homework and, like, put them to bed. So it's okay if you skip the 8 o'clock meeting, because you really need to be home with your kids. And that was really, really hard for me. That was hard. It took me like a year and a half to be able to be alone with my kids. I couldn't do it. And then it took me probably another year and a half or 2 years, or maybe 5 years, to be alone with myself. So I guess we could fast forward to that part, is learning to be with myself, because that's really exciting. For real. It really is. Like, I can actually, like, sit with myself today. And that's a miracle. Because my whole life, I always felt different. Yeah. I just finished a 9th step today. And what I'll say about that is that, like, so when COVID came, like, it was like, okay, time to settle down and do some work. This is and what I'll say, I got to finish this really quick, because I did this before. Hi, Gio. Is what happened with the Suboxone, I'm going to talk about that for a quick second, is that introduced me to Narcotics Anonymous. I was unable to stay clean while taking Suboxone. So when I went to detox again, I thought, I'm getting right back on that shit. Like, that is the peanut butter to my jam. Like, that is what I need. It was all I knew. It was what introduced me to Narcotics Anonymous. And my sponsor and a few people said, maybe think about, while you're in detox, not getting back on it. And I was like, absolutely not. It's working for me. I'm good with it. It's free. My insurance covers it. I'm good. I said, well, just think about it. So, long story short, I thought about it, and I thought, well, I'll give it, right? I did the 5 days of the detox, and then I spent 9 days without, and I ended up, leaving that 2-week detox and not getting back on that. So, the level of freedom that I experienced from that was large. I say that to say that, like, I don't know if I would be clean without it, okay, in the beginning for me. But I don't know if I'm grateful that I was able to follow suggestions and trust that maybe I could be clean without it, and so there's that. Gosh, you guys, I don't know. I started to be able to stay with the kids more. I mean, it was not easy. We've had like some really tragic things happen in our life, really tragic. Like enough for me to be like, poor me. Like, really, again, we're gonna go through this. Like, I've worked on a lot of self-pity. My kids' dad got clean and met a woman in treatment and got pregnant and had a baby, and the mom OD'd and died. Some of you guys know Harper. She's 14. She lived with me for a year, and it's been a year since she hasn't lived with me. And then my kids' dad got into a bad accident because of his disease, and he's like in a long-term, skilled, acute nursing home for the rest of his life with a traumatic brain injury. Can't walk, can't move. He's, he can move, not really move, but... So, really traumatic stuff. The disease has really impacted my family. What I know is that, with you guys, like with me being able to lean on you guys during all these things that have happened, I've been able to stay clean and still do the hard work to try to be able to show up for my kids and show up for their dad and show up for everybody, my parents are at an age where they're, need help. And, okay, so I was going to read this really quick. I'm reading this because this is what, I wish I could talk about it a little bit more, but I don't have time, but this is on the 9th step. It says, in the 9th step, we will focus on humility, love, and forgiveness. The humility we've gained in this step has resulted from getting a good look at the damage we did to others and accepting responsibility for it. We acknowledge to ourselves, yes, this is what I've done. I'm responsible for the harm I've caused and for making it right. We may have been led to this awareness by the experience of having someone tearfully tell us how much we hurt them. We may have found ourselves on the receiving end of some hurt we had inflicted on someone else and been so jarred by such an experience that we were able to see on a deeper level of how we hurt people. Then again, it may have been only the process of the previous steps coupled with the experience of making amends that led us to experience increased humility. I've really enjoyed doing this 9th step. So the steps have changed me, from the inside. It's every time I do a step, I get to be honest, and I get to go over it with my sponsor. She guides me through it, and there's always some sort of spiritual experience at the end of each step. And so I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I'll do a step and I'll be like, God, now, what? And then, but we're not quite done. We got 5 more questions, or maybe just the last question, or maybe we're done. But then something happens and a light turns on. And so since COVID and doing this round of steps, I've been able to sit with myself and make decisions. I just heard in a meeting the other day, making decisions is cutting out. It's like an incision. It is a cut, and so making decisions is cutting out what doesn't serve you anymore. Making a decision, and I've been making decisions for the last couple years. I had to make a decision to take a child in, and then make a decision that I couldn't raise her anymore. I had to make a decision to stay in my relationship and stay in it, be in it. I had to make a decision to have my mom come live with me. I made a decision to go back to school, you guys, and I just graduated. Yeah. I just graduated with my Master's of Social Work, and I'm really excited. And honestly, I'll say this and be quiet. I'll end it on this great little self-centered thing. Is I thought that I would be able to stand up here and be like, and I got my dream job, but I won't find out until next week. But I really get to kind of go back to a field, which is labor and delivery, that I used to be very passionate about when I was a teenager and I was younger. And and so it's kind of super exciting because I love moms and I love families and I love to be of service. And so I might even be having a really cool job here pretty soon. But everything I thought that I would not be able to do if I just kind of slow down and practice like trusting my higher power, like calming my nervous system, that's been a huge thing. Then things sort out. Things work out. And so, I don't know. I love Narcotics Anonymous. I have no plans of going anywhere. Why would I? I will say this, I've been able to rekindle some relationships with family or with friends that aren't in the program because I have boundaries today that I'm comfortable with. But the majority of my people are you guys. So why would I pick up and leave my family here? It would make no sense whatsoever. I really wouldn't have anybody if I did that. There's just so many reasons to stay. And the last years that I've been here, I've changed so much and I've grown so much that honestly, I'm kind of really excited about the next 10 years, one day at a time. And so this program has given me a lot of hope. And so I can't see without these glasses. It's crazy. No reason to go anywhere else. So if you're new here, I hope you stay, grab somebody after the meeting, go to a meeting and get a phone list. I don't think we do them at this meeting, but, reach out. I make calls maybe every day, with stuff that goes on in my life, doesn't stop. It never stops. It's not like I have arrived at this place where I don't need to still reach out. So that's all I got. Thanks for asking me to be of service and be up here and share.
All right.
Okay.